All right. And I see that our next speaker is here looking fabulous, who had her makeup artist with her earlier. So nice to see you, Susan. I was thinking about you a lot of times as I was sharing today, and of course, having Sherry with us today. So great, right? So great. I'm actually going to pass the stage over. I just wanted to say, nice to see you. I know we're talking later on. I have had the pleasure many times of bringing Susan onto the Stand Up, Speak Up, Show Up stage. So let's get her having a different video with a different person. And I'm going to pass the stage over to Kathleen to spend some time with you, but just love you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
What a pleasure to welcome Susan to the stage. And you do look amazing. I think we all want our own little makeup artist now. You showed us how beautiful that is. And what's behind you is beautiful too. I'm sure we're going to find out something about that. But so let me properly introduce Susan Isaac to us. She's an international best-selling author, as well as an international artist specializing in glass and fabric design. I've not seen that. She has shared her craft for over 15 years and has run some incredible workshops. Something you may not know about Susan is she once rehabilitated an orphaned fawn for 10 days so that it could go back out into the wild. That's very sweet. Right now, she is listening to Jessie Cook, Nomad, for her music. Love it. And the topic, turning glimmer moments into big magic. Ooh, I like that. And she also comes bearing gifts. So her gift to everybody is a boost your creativity and unleash your wild woman. Woohoo! And that is a PDF that'll come to everybody. She'll put that in the chat. So be in the chat and make sure you grab that. And her one-to-one gift. Now, this is so super generous. She's going to give you a choice of 50 different pieces of glass fabric art, and you get to see what fancies you, what speaks to you, and that's the one you're going to get to pick, and that'll be your one-to-one gift. That is beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So without any further ado, I'm going to step aside and give full stage to Susan. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. It's such a pleasure to be here. And the theme of today is celebrating women. And I use that as part of, what did I want to exactly talk about today? And I love talking about the creative process. I come from a family that didn't think I should be creative, like get serious about life. And I put away my paints and my joy around art at age 10 and didn't take anything out until I was 47, and I was terrified. And I had to let other people love me before I could love myself. And the principal person was my husband and some amazing friends who would kick my butt around the block while I was terrified and love me along the way. And as Deborah was talking today, I just went, wow, what would my life have been like if I'd had Deborah as my mother way back in the day? Just an interesting thought that just came up if she was talking about how she's nurturing Ocean in particular through his journey with business. So I love talking about creativity. And today what I want to do is marry two concepts, and that's Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic and also Deb Dana's concept of glimmers. And I'm going to start with a definition of big magic, but what I want to end with is talking about how I took glimmer moments and turned that into big magic. And it involves a bottle of scotch, a beach towel, and a very old deer that was a wild deer that was about 13 years old. So I'll tell you about that later. So big magic, Elizabeth Gilbert wrote a book called Big Magic, Creative Living Beyond Fear. I have read that so many times I've lost track of how often. I just love that book. And she makes a quote about creative living, and I want to read this to you. Here's what Elizabeth Gilbert believes. She believes the universe buries jewels just a second. You know what I have to do is my progressives are not ready yet, and I have distance glasses, bench glasses, and close up. They're not being done till mid-June, so here are the bench ones because I'm going, I can't read this for heaven's sakes. Anyway, Elizabeth Gilbert, she says in her book that she believes that the universe buries jewels within us and then stands back to see if we can find them. And the hunt to uncover those jewels, that is creative living. The courage to go on that hunt in the first place, that is what separates a mundane from an enchanted life. And the jewels are the way you express yourself and your ideas. It's inborn creativity. So I just love that quote about creating and living a creative life by just being who you are. You were born with jewels inside of you. And I love being part of this group, this movement by Deborah and her team. And that is about show up, stand up, speak up. Yes, you. And it's all about gumption of any kind. Because really, what we're all doing as speakers, authors, as participants, we are trying to help each other uncover our jewels and live a more enchanted life. And if that isn't celebrating women, I don't know what is. So I'm very honored to be part of this movement and forever. And it's way beyond May 11th coming up when the book is launched. And I have my free download is 9 tips to unleash your creativity and how to express yourself and unleash your wild woman. And for me, the creativity is really the creative just expression of who you are, whatever that might be, and your ideas. And the term wild woman is about expressing your passion. And if you do that, that influences all parts of your life. Inside out and backwards. So read my free download. There's a few great ideas on just how to keep that wild woman juicy and out there. So that's the concept of big magic. Now I want to talk about glimmer moments. I saw a post that Kathleen Carlson had up on our 262 author speaker group. And she said that her daughter came home and said, Mom, I've learned about glimmer moments, and me and my friends, we want to just have as many glimmer moments as we can in our life. She was so excited about it. And Kathleen posted that. And I went, glimmer moments. I want to learn more about that. And I love the concept. And glimmer moments is when you have a moment in your life that just sparks joy and happiness, as well as peace and calm. So a glimmer moment is not just feeling great. It's a big part of it, but it's also, does it make you feel like life is okay and a calm, peaceful kind of presence around you? And what I'd like in the chat, and I'll look at this after I'm finished speaking, tell me what some of your glimmer moments are, things that have just given you joy in life for a moment and made you feel like life is okay and feels good. So just give me those ideas in the chat. And that could be anything like petting a cat or feeling a cool breeze on your face, something in nature, for example. So I just want to hear your ideas. Glimmer moments come from an author. Her name is Deb Dana. She's a social worker, and she wrote a book in 2018 called The Polyvagal Theory in Therapy. And her focus was about trying to neutralize and balance trigger moments because she is a trauma expert. And we have amazing coaches and counselors in this group that are well trained to go further with helping us with our triggers and finding our hidden jewels, for example, as well, like what, to lead to those big magic moments of creative living. We have an amazing talent in this group. So Deb Dana wrote this book, and that's where the term glimmer moments came from. She coined the phrase, actually. So something I loved when I was looking at YouTube and trying to learn more about glimmer moments, one counselor said that our nervous system is exquisitely set up to notice micro moments, glimmer moments. of joy and calm and feeling good and that life is okay, because it's really about regulating our nervous system. We go from fight and flight and to rest and digest, and we're supposed to, as humans, go back and forth. And the idea is to just let that flow be as natural as possible and as calm as possible, and be able to flow back and forth in a smooth way. So, and also, the more you look for glimmer moments, the more you're going to find. And the whole concept that we see what we actively seek, which is the base of the law of attraction, for example. So those are the glimmer moments. I can't wait to read yours. And then I started to think about, what about glimmer moments or your passion that you have over time, where you show up maybe daily, weekly, monthly, and show up for years with something that you're passionate about? What kind of big magic could happen from that? So I started to think about those little moments and how they can change and change the directory of your life sometimes, and give you unforgettable experiences. And I'd like you to put in the chat as well, is there any kind of glimmer moments or passion that you have repeated over and over and over again, and you can't not do it? It's just who you are, and you get so excited about something. And what I think about is Deborah Drummond. Deborah Drummond has said in podcasts, she's said numerous times in summits, music is like breathing to her. Is that music is just something that she loves, and she infuses it into all parts of her life. There are 3 musical celebrities on this platform today, and I am so honored to even be a small part of this stage with these amazing celebrities. And whenever you do a podcast or any announcement like this summit, she always asks, if you were on a desert island, if you were to go with a desert island, what would the one album be that you would take with you? And she's about to go to Ireland and raise money for the music industry. Look how she has folded in her love of just music, and it's like breathing to her. So she's a really good example of taking glimmer moments over time repeatedly and creating, doing creative living. And so I'd love to hear your ideas. And one that I have a couple of experiences of my own that I'd like to share. And one of them is that ever since I can remember as a little girl, I would come in the house and shut the door and yell upstairs to my mother, "What's for supper?" And often I would just yell up the stairs, "What's for dessert?" Because I just love dessert. And I was always interested in food. And as I got older, I just became more and more passionate about food. I can tell you more about my travels if I explain a dish that I had in Paris. That will explain my trip, because everything in my life is centered around food and talking about food. So what happened for me in 2017, I was at a pumpkin patch neighborhood event, and a professional chef came by, and I knew that he was really into slow food and from farm to table, and using as much of the environment around him to do his cooking. He was a chef that had come from Toronto, actually, and now lived out in the West Coast where I am on Vancouver Island. And I said to him, I work with a 6,000-year-old art form, fused glass, and it's a very ancient art form that was lost, and now it's back in the modern world. Food. What do you think about us putting ourselves together? A glass plate or tray, and then you serve the food that you create the next day on the plates that they made. What do you think of that? And he just loved the idea. And so we did our first event, joint workshop, and we just did our 4th one last weekend with 10 women, all outdoor cooking, and incredible glass plates that they made. And this is becoming a really important part of my future life as a businesswoman, as an artist. And I love what Shari said this morning. As I age, it's really important to me. My definition of success is connection with people. I just love how she said it, and I'm never going to forget, Sherry. Thank you so much. And that is what I'm leaning toward as I'm moving in my 70s as well, is that is my definition, and I love that crystal clarity. And I'm using something from when I was 5 years old or earlier. Maybe I really love my pablum too, who knows? But I have turned those glimmer moments into creative living. And another example that I want to make sure I get to is my husband and I have rehabilitated 2 orphan fawns. The second one was from 10 days of age. We almost lost her the first night because when they lose their mother, they die of shock. That is a big part of my chapter in the book that's coming out May 11th. I'm coming out in May, May 11th. And what has happened is she went into estrus, and when she went into estrus, she became a wild deer and wouldn't let us touch her. But she was so comfortable with us, she would come and chew her cud about 25 feet from us while we would sit and have a glass of wine outside. And we just love nature and being out in nature as much as possible, in the animals. And then she had offspring for years and years. She actually lived to be about 13 years of age. And her offspring, we would never touch them or whatever. They wouldn't let us, and they would just sit and chew their cud around us. And they've been doing that for 25 years. And we just keep showing up, glimmer moments. It makes us feel calm. It makes us feel like the world is okay and gives us joy. And we would do that as much as we could in the good weather. We put blankets on, lots of woolies, and sit out there with the deer. Well, there was one winter 7 years ago where one of the deer, who was getting quite old, she had a gray muzzle, which in the wild is unusual because they often die about 7 years of age and they don't live that much past that age. This one it was a tough cold winter and they didn't have much food that year. She was getting weaker and weaker. And one night I was going to a women's meeting, and my intuition said, don't go to the meeting, go home. So I went home, and I'm coming up the hill, and there's my husband at 7 o'clock at night with his arm around the belly of a wild deer with a beach towel in his hand and a bottle of scotch in the other hand. And he had wanted to try to lift her up to allow her to walk into the forest so she could die in the way that a deer should die. And he couldn't lift her up. So I came home early. We each took the beach towel and we lifted her up, and she had enough strength to walk off into the forest. And we thought to die, and that we were giving her a chance to do that in a really natural way. Well, we get up in the morning, it's March, it's rainy, it's drizzly, a little bit of ice even. My dog go to Victoria, and we open the door, and there is this deer. We called her Granny. She was getting so old. She was sitting in front of my car on the driveway, 15 feet from our front door. She had walked out of the forest, had survived that night, and she was sitting in our driveway, and that's where she wanted to die. My husband went to work. I got my winter coats on and lots of warm coffee, and I sat on a chair outside to hold vigil for her, to just be present for her passing. While I was there, 8 deer walked out of the forest and up the driveway to say goodbye. And I am not exaggerating, it was 8. And they came to say goodbye. And I sat there and witnessed this. And then 2 of the does held vigil for another 2 hours. They sat about 25 feet from her, just sitting there chewing their cud, hanging out. So there's 2 does and myself after the others left. And then after 2 hours, those does left. And now Granny is starting to have things come out of her mouth because she's starting to cough and go into some spasm. It's getting to be near the end of her life. And I I went behind her and put my arm around her and had my hand on her heart as my husband was driving up the driveway, because I did go back into the house and say, you need to come home now. And my hand was on her heart, and as he drove up, she passed. And that to me has taught me a very, very powerful lesson. And that is, when I get really discouraged and don't want to show up for my art or my business, I think about Granny Dear, and I think about that very special moment that we earned for 25 years, just showing up for glimmer moments, and ended up having big magic in our life. Not because we asked for it, just because we showed up with joy, didn't think about the impact, didn't think about why, just did it. And when I'm discouraged, I think about going back to the glimmer moments and just showing up a little bit at a time for something that gives me joy and makes me feel calm. And another lesson I learned is that when things get hard and really discouraged, I remember that repeated glimmer moments and passion moments can lead me in a different direction, like my trajectory as an artist. I still do my custom pendants where I channel in the essence of people's personality and co-create with them. I love doing that, but I will continue to do these events with chefs. My husband loves it too. And that all comes from my passion and my glimmer moments around food all my life. And I realized the power of celebrating and being in alignment with women who show up, who stand up and speak up, and are trying to help each other uncover our hidden jewels to lead a more enchanted life and celebrate every type of gumption you can think of. Because as Elizabeth Gilbert said, it's that you just even had the courage to show up, to hunt for the jewels within you, your hidden jewels. So may we all live an enchanted life full of glimmer moments that turn into lots of big magic. Happy jewel hunting.
Oh my, that is so good. Big waves here on Zoom and lots of love. What an amazing story.